Please welcome 2021 Hope for Humanity honoree, Max Glauben.
Max, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum, it's my pleasure and honor to present you, see, I needed your Kleenex.
I know, sorry.
With the 2021 Hope for Humanity Award. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. If somebody wants to take a picture, and it seems to be everybody has a phone, you might as well do it now. I've been given a few minutes to speak, and I speak from my heart and not from notes. But for this occasion, I decided to put some notes. Came somebody and told you the whole story I was going to talk about. Which means I'm going to look at this and tell you this. All we saw, the horrible things that happened during the Holocaust years. I will tell you how there is some goodness in this world, and the goodness that was given to me when I was orphaned, an unknown child, and maybe when I came to the States, according to my religion, that's all I can say, that if I went into a city, I was always invited to a synagogue, and I never, ever was a stranger. I think that it's appropriate for me to thank in generality, because names are mentioned already, and I'm not so good at names, but I have the chairman, event chairman, Candy and Ike Brown, and then honorary chairs and host committee, and the angelic, mind you, angelic Mary Pat Huggins, the CEO, and Mark Zilberman, board chair, that selected me as the 2021 Hope of Humanity, Hope of Humanity. Now it's real nice, you forget. Recipient. I'm going to have to change my whole thing because I will do things chronologically, and I do it from my heart. First, I want to thank everybody that's present here to know that I give him a thank you for being here, because it tells me what kind of upstander they are. And I also kind of thought since my story was told already there, that we celebrate the Day of Atonement. And before we go to the synagogue, if we have any friends, we call them up, and if we have anything that we harmed them with or did to them that wasn't proper, you ask forgiveness. Now I know there's 1,000 of you, and there may be somebody that I offended or did something bad. I want you to forgive me. I am going to show you that there is goodness in this world, but it's shadowed with the badness, but somehow bad things create better stories, or I don't want to say anymore. Firstly, I would like to thank my parents in heaven looking down, and they were guiding me through all my life with the Hashem and some of the other Holocaust survivors, for bringing me into this world without knowing how or why we're gonna, or I'm gonna, or anybody is gonna approve and make this a better world. Then I want to say a thank you for some of the departed few Holocaust survivors that had a dream and planted the seed for the Holocaust survivors, creating the museum that we have. And because we were not too rich, our first idea was not for one that would be a beacon, an $80 million beacon that would be a one creating upstanders and showing both sides of the story, educating. I don't have this written down, but I saw there was an episode. I made 14 trips of the March of the Living. About 5 or 6 years ago, my time is blended in. I saw a bus drive up in Auschwitz-Birkenau from Israel with Israeli flags. People went down there with dogs, seeing our dogs. And I teared up. And I went over to the man that was guiding him, and I says, could I take a picture with one of the blind people, or with as many as want to take a picture with me? And he says, why would you do it? I says, during the Holocaust, the dogs maimed us and killed us. And this, what I'm seeing now, is the greatest proof that if dogs can be trained to help people, so can the people be trained to be upstanders and treat each other the way they like to be treated. I am going to talk more about my liberation and some of the things that happened to me without being able to have a family that would take care of my expenses, or any doctors that could help me, or for any food. So I was liberated by the U.S. Army. A 2-week wonder, I think they called them, was a second lieutenant in the 179 Signal Repair Corps, picked up a group of us kids, realizing that after the Dead March, we had black clothes from blood that has hardened, that we couldn't make it anywhere. He gave us American uniforms, said, "Keep your mouth shut," and took us with him, and we settled in Nuremberg, Germany, where I lived for 2 years, and immediately lived an American life, became a mess sergeant for Polish guards and German POWs that were assigned to that company, and didn't have to go to a displaced person camp, which were a little bit closer to another concentration camp, but maybe with better things that were happening to you. By being there and doing a good job, I was introduced to the U.S. Committee. Through them, I got papers, went to a council in Stuttgart, Germany, with some babies, and when the council saw the babies, he says, "I need this group in the United States right away." Well, I thought he was talking about the babies. No, he was talking about the whole group. December the 13th, I arrived on a converted merchant marine ship, United States Marine, USS Marine Flusher, and I went to New York, not to the other port. Then I was placed in an orphanage on Caldwell Avenue in New York. Truly, I didn't like New York because I went to get something and I asked a person, "Where could I get this?" Was a drugstore or what? And he says, "Do you see all these people? Why do you have to ask me?" I says, "I don't know if I want to stay in that city." There were no openings until December 31st. I was sent then to Atlanta, Georgia, and placed in a foster home. There I stayed with a Miss Rosenthal, and she was a lovely person. She had some children of her own, but I didn't know I was in a foster home, but I was also assigned to United Jewish Children, or whatever it was, and I was on a permanent visa, and I went on my own because I couldn't be confined. I always had to do something. So I got jobs, and when I became 18, I was drafted into the U.S. Army and brought to Fort Hood, Texas. On the weekends, I would come into Dallas, and I might say that I went to food service school, and I became a mess sergeant in the 1st Armored Division in the Company B of the 702nd Armored Infantry Battalion. While coming to Dallas, the people in Dallas were so wonderful that when I was released and had to still be in the Army for 3 years in active duty, I decided to stay in Dallas. I met my wife, and that was my love. And I met her in a home of a family that allowed me to be a member of their family. That was the Fair family. Now, I got out in about April or May and decided to get married on June the 14th, not knowing that was Flag Day, and it was somebody else's birthday that maybe none of us like. But anyways, while I'm on the subject, I want to thank her for being a co-sponsor of my doings for 68 years. And yes, we had a good life, but it was also like the stock market. Ups and downs. But you know, by bringing a smile into your eyes makes me very happy. Let me just see here. I was fortunate enough to, with the help of my wife, have 3 children, Philip, Sherry, and Barry, and 7 wonderful children, grandchildren. But then came the greatest thing. We got 3 jewels, which are our great children. You already heard me being involved in the museum, and all I can say that the Holocaust survivors had a great deal to do with it. But I must say this: the angelic staff and the board and its CEO and its board of directors that don't know any difference of nationality, religion, because maybe I was one of the ones that said that the Holocaust was not a Jewish problem, it was a world problem. I want to thank them for the job that they have done in the last 9 years, that without their help, it could never have been accomplished. I was asked by the angel, called me to the office and says, Max, we are planning to put in a dimension theater. How would you like to work with the Shoah Foundation? And immediately I said, without any hesitation, think about it. That theater contains Holocaust survivors, because it's been changed every so often, and there isn't anybody that's in this room that cannot go in there and by voice recognition ask one of us a question and get it after we're gone. And the same goes for your children, your great children, your great great children. And I consider this the greatest award. The other thing is, I was sitting here by the table and eating, and a group of students that went with me on the March of the Living. I started in 205, 14 times, and I also went on 7 to Germany. And that made my evening. Because you can see with their behavior of who they are and what they are doing, and they are really becoming the leaders of our country and making this a better world. I'm going to finish with something that some people say you shouldn't do, or you should do, or whatever. Laughter, smiles, music, theater, the arts are a necessary commodity in sustaining a happy life. When I came to the States, I heard a song by Nat King Cole, not knowing that 1,500 artists made that song, but I found it appropriate to me and maybe to some other youngsters that survived, and I'd like to render a Max Glauben rendition. If you like it, put some more money on the table. And it goes like that, yeah. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They said he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, one funny day, he came my way. And while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. I'm not finished yet. all the Jewish nice things are happening, and we have blessings for anything we do, even outhouses. I always like to say the blessing in Hebrew and then in English, and the blessing is the Shehayanu. It's Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Shehayanu V'Kiyimanu V'Higiyanu Lazman Hazeh. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this moment. Thank you very much for coming, and may God bless you.